Today is 11th of February, market open low but managed to actually move upward. 8 hour small gain of 1 point to close at 3428 with increased volume. Now this bar generally overlapped the previous bar, so it is a sign of fatigue. Notice that actually after this gap up, market is actually treat a series of bull bar. So we do expect a meaningful pullback, and the daylight is also very huge. Support is at 3415, which is just hovering above it, and resistance is at 3495. Now, I mentioned previously that the index is largely influenced by the three banks with SB quite similar pattern, and they are in turn influenced by the bond yield. So it's important to take note of that. Now, this is the 10-year Treasury yield. Notice we had a very strong spike here, and in the process it managed to take out this resistance level, and this channelized as well. So it's currently trading about 2%. Now this is the charts of Brent crude, also actually very strong move. It's still trading within the upward channels, broke this resistance quite some time back, currently trading at the $91. This is S&P 500. After testing this support, it actually managed to bounce off. It retraced about 50% of the downward move. Notice a series of gaps, so it's very choppy. Now, if you actually plot this with the 40-week moving average, if you notice this is the first time it actually tested this moving average. So there's a change in characteristics. So it's something we'll take note of. This bounce itself doesn't seem very impressive, so we've got to be very careful in case there's further selling. Now, it's also quite evident from the Nasdaq. Again, you notice here, Nasdaq, in this case, it broke the support before it bounced off, and again, a series of gaps. So it's very choppy. Now, unlike S&P, Nasdaq itself, you notice it's actually closed below the 40 weeks. Again, if it were to break below this low here of 13,094, that will be very negative. If you actually take a look, this is probably the first time you actually trade since the March 2020 because of the COVID. So again, this is something which you ought to pay some attention. It's likely to be choppy. At best, the stock market may just start in the trading range. Now, I mentioned previously that NYSE is probably a better gauge. So you notice actually it is still stuck within the trading range, and the swing is getting wider. So in fact, if you take a look here, you actually trade a broadening channel. So the swing is getting bigger, so it's likely to be very choppy. Now let's turn our attention to the local stocks. This is DBS. Today managed to actually make a new high. Notice the increase in volumes, generally positive. Look for pullback and look for new setups to go long. Now DBS is probably the only stocks with this type of retracements. If you take a look at UOB, so you notice it was just trading sideways, and in fact the three banks actually gap up at the same time, which is 3rd of February, and follow through. And right now here we have a small deeper setup. Bar high here is at 32.99. OCBC, mentioned in the previous video that this charts is tighter compared to DBS and UOB, and again on the 3rd of February, actually a gap up and make successive high, and today still managed to actually make a new high. Look for a pullback here and look for setups to go long. Now let's take a look at the oil and gas. This is Red Internationals. Very nice run up, and right now we have a pullback. It's a small deeper setup. Today reversal bar is actually accompanying low volume. This is generally healthy. Bar high here is at 41 cents. Now RH Petrogas is approaching this psychological resistance, so it's better to actually look at REX rather than the RH Petrogas. Now we want to see it take out convincingly this resistance level of 205. If you notice, tested on 3 occasions, not able to close well. And obviously this has been tested before. This is Keppel Corp. Now the recent runs is largely fueled by a strong earning resulting in this gap, and of course they have a share buyback scheme. Notice the extremely huge daylight, so we prefer the stocks to continue to retrace, perhaps trading sideways, and to eventually look for it to actually break on the upside. Currently we have a small dipper setup, about high here is at 612.